been married a couple times, neither to my kids' dads. I didn't know myself well enough to say, oh, I want to be with this person. I've learned a lot over the years. I don't think I learned by watching, I learned by doing. So I have to be like in the middle of stuff and then I'm like, oh yeah, I get it.
All right, welcome back to Be Frank podcast. So today's episode, we have a special guest of them. She is a makeup artist, but we're gonna talk about a lot of mental health today. And then, if you're like in the relationship, maybe not happy, maybe happy, and then dealing with a family issue or parental issue or something like that, maybe this episode might be good for you. So welcome the guest and the Krystal McKinley.
Hi.
Thanks for coming.
I'm really happy to be here.
So, I do ask the question that to the people to start it off as if you are making a new website for yourself, what your bio will be.
Oh my goodness.
It's kind of grew up here, whatever,
All right. I grew up near Ada. I grew up on a farm. Mostly an only child. I had a 20-year-old brother, my brother and sister are 20 years older than me. And graduated with 18 people. Had a very small rural school. My kids are actually there now. So they go to the same little schoolhouse that I did. Then I went to OU. Eventually got a journalism degree. I worked at MAC Cosmetics. So that's kind of where I first dove in and figured out that I could do makeup as a job.
Yeah.
And that was in 2005 when I graduated from OU in 2007.
Yeah, and then now, I think we met during a commercial shoot and all that kind of stuff, and then I think we know each other for a long time, but we haven't worked together for a while. But we came back with a casino shoot the other day.
We always have fun with casino shoots.
And then I see you do a lot of social media about the mental health and all that kind of stuff. And then can you kind of tell me about what you've been doing?
Yeah, so I started where I would share a bunch of mental health stories, and then I was getting to the point where people were a little concerned about my mental health. But I was really just kind of wanting to share what I was learning, and I knew certain people followed me that would find things interesting, and I kind of post little things for people that are following me. But I ended up making a separate account that was just about mental health and kind of my journey, and I can go back and kind of go through and be like, oh, where was I a year ago?
Yeah.
So it's
so when did you start it?
The technology was there, so I just kind of started utilizing it that way.
Yeah, when did you start it?
I didn't start, maybe 8 months ago I started the actual account.
Got you.
I've been immersed in self-help books for audio books.
Yeah, I mean a mental health, whenever you start, I guess it's still a stigma about mental health, and then whenever you're sharing stuff, you're saying people worry about you, right?
Yeah.
But I think how do you deal with that? You just say, hey, I'm just doing it for fun.
I finally made a post and I was just like, here's my mental health site that I've started, and they're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then it kind of made sense.
Yeah.
I separated it out a little more.
Yeah. What made you started to go into I need to look at that read this mental health book?
I had people around me who were in some narcissistic, abusive relationships, and I started kind of looking into that, not realizing that I was in a bit of a situation myself at the time. So it's kind of interesting to look back and go, oh yeah, duh. You can be in the middle of something and have absolutely no idea, what you're really in until you know yourself and understand the motives.
Yeah, so people understands narcissistic trait in a way, right?
Yeah.
But what you didn't know before, and then after that, what was the definition before you didn't learn anything, and then what was the a definition now?
I don't know. I guess I had thought maybe a narcissist was, I don't know, more abusive and more angry necessarily, but I think there's also different levels. But one thing that I really learned is I think narcissist is way overused. So you can really just say, okay, this person is emotionally immature and this is how they're navigating relationships in their life.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, oh, he's a narcissist. Oh, because everything is just so, which I understand there are narcissists. There are people that act in a narcissistic way.
What's the definition of narcissist?
I couldn't exactly.
Maybe you can kind of give me an example.
Someone that is very manipulative and takes advantage of other people for their own needs and doesn't actually love a person, and a lot of people, I don't think they necessarily know how.
Like
So it can get really ugly. Like I need love. I need this. You're not giving it to me. I need to control you because I need you to give me what I need. Whether that's monetary control or physical control, mental control.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who deal with that kind of relationship. I've had some people came to this podcast and they were in like a abusive relationship or narcissistic relationship, and then they finally realized or like finally like got abused or whatever, and then like they get out that relationship. What was it like for you? Like what was like, boom, I'm done. You know what I mean?
Whenever it became a monetary control thing, and it was something that I didn't care about. Like I didn't care about money, but the guy had always dated people who cared about money, so he didn't know what to do. He was like, I can't control her. She doesn't care. But then he started to do, and I was just like, all right. So I didn't stick in with anybody long enough to really get abused, but I have been very close friends with people who have, and it's pretty yucky. The damage it can do to a person's psyche is pretty immense.
So you think like you didn't stick around because you knew that was...
I was, yeah. And it was in my back of my mind, I was waiting for it.
What do you mean?
Because I knew that was his pattern.
Oh, like you wanted to happen?
No. Yeah.
What do you mean?
Isn't that weird? So that was probably about a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then looking from now, back to then, I should have never been with that person. I never should have been in that situation. And I didn't think highly enough of me. So that's on me too. I shouldn't have been there. I shouldn't have entertained it.
Got you.
From the get-go. I knew it wasn't a healthy person. I knew it wasn't a healthy relationship.
But like kind of
I
like...
wanted to have fun.
Yeah. But at the time, you probably... I mean, like, I don't know, like, there is a, podcast I was listening to about, like, a relationship, and, like, every relationship you go through is not really regret, I guess. But some people is, like, take a lesson. But you say, like, well, you shouldn't be do you think about that as a lesson, or?
I've spent the last 2 or 3 months really looking back and finding my place in all of these relationships that I was in, and realizing that if I was a healed person, if I was a healthy woman, I would not have been in most of those situations.
Like,
So I understand that it's a lesson and you learn, but I think the collateral damage of dating other people and hurting them at the same time that you're trying to learn is really hurtful.
From your
Can
perspective?
be really hurtful. Yeah. I mean, they could also learn, but if I'm not a healed person, then I'm not helping the situation either.
Got you. So, like, what are you doing kind of now to, like, get it healed?
Sitting back. not going out, not going on dates.
Yeah.
It was really funny. After my last relationship, I was like, I'm just going to get on some dating site for a little bit and look around. So I live on a farm. So I got on Farmers Only, and it was hilarious.
Farmers Only?
It was so funny. But it was like anybody that even seemed remotely interesting was in another state. But then I was on there for like a couple of weeks, and I was like, this is so dumb. Like, why? This is not normal. It's not natural. You don't just like, oh, we're going to go on a date and see if, sparks fly. You got to like be friends with somebody, and all those people are just hooking up.
What do you think these like a narcissistic trait, or like having like these kind of the toxic relationship is, do you think it's been always like this, or like do you think like online dating and social media like we're getting worse and worse about the toxic relationship?
Yeah, hookup culture. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Because I think a lot of men are putting themselves out as, you get a first date with a girl, so you have to impress her, so you have to be someone you're not, kind of thing. So I think this false bravado, a lot of times with men, that like to go out and date 3 different girls a week.
Yeah, you want to get kind of...
Sorry. Yeah. They want to date like 3 different girls a week.
Yeah.
Like that's not good.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's kind of like if they
There's
don't...
a lot of different factors.
Yeah, if they don't have like, I guess experience, they can't... I mean, like, I don't know. Do you believe in like the people who are like married to like a high school sweetheart.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I just saw two of them today.
Yeah.
I dropped my kids off, and a guy and a girl that were both in my class are married.
Yeah.
They have kids. They were like rolling their windows down. Good morning, Krystal. Like,
Yeah.
of course I do. I live in a small town too.
Yeah.
And I think kind of that small town culture is a little different too, where you'll have people get married early. They have kids.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing. And I think culture now and society's turned it around to where it's a bad thing. You know, go get your career, go get your whatever. And then you're 40 and you're like, oh shit, maybe I did this backwards. You know?
Do you think so?
Yeah. I mean, I think I would do things differently. If I went back.
How would you do it differently?
I would have the self-respect and the self-control to find the right mate. I would look deep inside myself to get through my childhood trauma and BS before I did that.
Yeah.
And find someone that you can be stable with and be married and have kids, if that's what you want to do.
I mean, like, honestly, like, before we're like talking about this to set up this podcast, you're talking about like, a lot of people who has an issue with like mental health is come from their childhood, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that, people who are, I think a lot of people go through that, issues. Like
Yeah.
if whoever, like anybody going through, like maybe they seem like they don't have any issues. But a lot of people, well, I think everybody have an issue from like a parent stuff. I don't think the 100% people are happy. But at the same time, there's a level to it, right?
Yes.
But also, what I'm thinking, my question is kind of like, do you think those people who suffer tremendous tragedy on the childhood, do you think it is what it is? Or do you think that could be healed and that could be moved forward?
I think it can definitely be healed and move forward. One thing that kind of comes to mind is, so attachment styles in relationships I think are very important. Whenever you're looking for a mate, you need to make sure that, you don't want two people that are never going to be communicating because they're both so, standoffish. You don't want two people that are completely like, you are my everything, there's nothing else in life. And whenever you go back to your childhood, you look and see what your attachment style is from watching your parents most of the time, I think. So like, from my dad, I would say that love, what I learned from him is that love is terrifying and suffocating at the core. And very loving father. He was younger. He had some alcohol issues, anger issues, violence. My mother, she taught me that love was, it was basically, avoided at all costs. Like,
what do you mean?
Like she was under someone's thumb the entire time. So she's like, no, it's suffocating, it's controlling, it's, so whenever, I remember talking to my grandma whenever I was a kid, and I was like, I will never get married, I will never have kids. I'm not gonna do any of this, it's awful.
Right.
So then whenever you look at like your attachment style,
Yeah.
you can be anxious or you can be avoidant, or I'm kind of a mixed bag because I had a very loving father who was also very severe. So you end up with more complications. But I don't know as I can ever change my, just there's a core inside there that you have to watch, I think.
Right.
Because
Do you
you're
think
in
that's
it
a
for
core
so long
value?
as a kid.
Do you think that's a core value or core personality?
I don't like that it's a part of my personality. I don't want to say that.
You don't want to say that, or
No,
like that?
and it's kind of new for me because I haven't really dropped my rebellion against my dad and really mended that until this last year. So this is all kind of new to me. So you're like, can you change that? I don't know. I just I literally this week was just like, oh, this is how my parents taught me love was. Subservient, my mom, and then so I am I'm such a mixed bag.
So did you talk to your dad about this?
Well, not about this specifically, but a lot of he and I, like we have a lot of conversations about the kids. So, he would try to be more abrasive with the kids, more, you're going to do this and I'm the boss. And I would just be like, we're going to go outside. So I would like take my kid outside or like whatever. And like he and I would talk, and he's great with them now. Like my mom's like, he's just so good with the kids. And I'm like, I know. But it's like he finally values how I raise them. It was like, well, you're not punishing them enough. And they're unruly was his kind of. And I'm like, no, that's not what we're doing here.
So
and it's made a big difference with my kids.
How do you raise your kids?
I think the best thing that I love about my children is that if they break something or do something, they come and tell me. I would hide it. I would lie. I would anything not to get in trouble, not to get a whipping. So I was very secretive. I was very quiet, very shy, had no voice, kind of thing whenever I was younger.
So like you kept bottle things up and
Yeah, that doesn't work. That's not good.
Yeah. So you tell your kid, say that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. How are we gonna fix it? Let's clean it up. Like, what do we do?
Right. And then like
Just move on.
so now like like you're a single mother.
Yeah.
So what do you think that having the child having a single mother affects them to understand love?
Of course.
Like what? Like how so?
Because they don't get a model. They don't get the chance to have healthy parents modeled in front of them, for them to take out into life and understand whenever they're finding a mate or love or friendship. The kids' dads and I are very close. They go over there every weekend. They have a very close relationship with their dads. I picked very great fathers, like they're top notch. I didn't know myself well enough, but I knew they'd be good dads.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So like, but they get both love. So.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot how we handle it.
Right.
How their dads and I handle, the back and forth, and how we express, our respect for each other as parents.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very, very interesting to me because of the, like I was thinking about, you were born with parents.
Yeah.
Or even single parents, or maybe no parents, but you have no choice to be born with somebody, right? And then like you're just born. I mean, it's a miracle, and then it's like it's a great thing, right?
Yes.
But whenever you make your own family and then you have a kid, it's a kind of same system, same process, right? And at the same time, some people who has a single parents, or some people who have worse parents, then I don't know, then they came out great people.
Yes.
But some people have, wealthy family or good family, but kids become super shitty.
Mm-hmm.
That happens too, right? But like you can, like I was thinking about, the only things that you can actually choose is your significant other.
Mm-hmm.
Because you are choosing somebody to be with, right? But also kind of work together to make sure what happens, because you can't control your parents, but also you can't control your significant other neither.
Nope.
But you can't control the parents neither. So like it's just like, what is good, Have you ever had that kind of thoughts?
Yeah, basically you stop controlling.
Yeah. And then like it's just like,
That's been the biggest thing for me, and realizing those micro ways that you control.
yeah.
Like even I've been in a relationship where I was like, many relationships where I'm like, no, this is like what we need to do, and like this is the plan, and like, and they didn't want to. They weren't in it.
Yeah.
So stop trying to control the situation. Stop getting angry
Yeah.
that this other person isn't loving you or doing what you think they should be doing.
Yeah. And then also like, it's like you can't control. What you can control is only yourself.
That's it.
I mean, like,
Yes.
That's kind of what I've been working a lot about. It's kind of like, it's even like, having company or something like that. But, like, you can't control anybody. Even employees, you pay them or whatever. But what they want to do or what they're going to do, it's like, end of the day, you can't control anything. You
No.
can't control client. You can control nothing. And then I think it's just like, I do have a tattoo saying, "Que sera, sera." It's like whatever will be, will be. And then that mentality, I look at this a lot of many times in my daytime and then nighttime or whatever, but it's just like it's a lot, just kind of like okay, it is what it is,
That's what it is.
But like I think helping controlling and also like controlling is a probably bad word, but progressing my mental health
Yeah.
is being very very surreal for me because it's like a progress you can't see it because like I look at you from let's say 5 years ago we filmed the casino.
Yeah.
Right now like I look at you, I think of you as the same.
Okay.
You probably went through the same like a very very different things, right? But now like I'm like I'm going through the therapy, doing the journal meditations and like all kinds of like a mental work too to get like that stuff, but it doesn't show externally, right?
Right.
So like how do you think that you went through all this like I think that was interesting. If you want to share like what you went through, you told me about like you're kind of like a life,
Oh,
like a relationship history.
my serial monogamy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Been married a couple times, neither to my kids' dads. And I would just kind of go from one relationship, just head in. And it was like, oh, I know these people, I know them. Like, and then I would try to put things together that didn't, I really didn't respect that person to lead me. And I always felt like I had to be the person that would, lead. And my ego was always in the way.
Mm.
But I've learned a lot over the years. I don't think I learned by watching. I learned by doing. So I have to be like in the middle of stuff. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, I get it now.
Like what?
One of the last ones that the relationships that I had, it was the guy was very just whatever you want, like never would make a decision, never would whatever. And I was like, oh, that's cool. No, this is not cool, because they're just coasting. So you kind of have to figure out.
So that guy was saying like I just do whatever, didn't have no opinion whatsoever.
No, but then he couldn't communicate whatsoever. Like I figured out him and his ex would leave a Post-it note, and like they would get back around to it whatever day they wanted to talk about the issue that was on the Post-it note. And they would like sit down together, and I was like, I don't have the patience.
What do you mean Post-it note?
They would write stuff on a Post-it note, like, I have an issue with you because of this, and they would like put it on the fridge, and like whenever he felt comfortable speaking, because he didn't like to talk about problems, he didn't like to be in a bad light whatsoever. But you don't just jump in with people because you don't know them.
Huh.
Was like, so I'm like, okay, quit being a dummy.
Yeah.
You're 39 years old.
Damn.
Yeah.
I mean, like, do you think people just never learn? Or like I think
some people never learn. I'm
Yeah.
surprised I have at this point.
But I think like also like I don't know, like that's what I'm curious about is like people who married to high school sweetheart, right?
Uh-huh.
And then they learn in a way by getting married and have kids, and I bet they have the same problem. But they're like, okay, like I'm committed to this, right? So that's like they put it stuck together.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people like now society is like date around and getting married, get divorced, and all that kind of stuff. But they don't commit to each other, right?
Right.
So do you think that it's just a part of it? It's just like not part of it, but I think it's just the whole reason is they're just not committed.
I think that's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that people don't get married or see that as a good choice anymore. I kind of feel like government and society has kind of ruined marriage a little bit. They've made it easier. They made it easier to be a single mom. Honestly.
Yeah.
Which is screwed up.
Yeah, that is true. And then also like going back to that fridge situation, I could understand like if you asked me that probably 6 months ago. Yeah. Like that is a good idea. I thought about it, but now like I've been going through a lot of stuff of like therapy and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's just I think like if that guy's listening to this podcast, I think there's a lot of people like me, but also there's a lot of guys that be taught by father or mother or parents or whoever say, you know, you can't show your feelings. If you talk about your feelings, it's a weakness, and then the man cannot talk about feelings, and then don't be a bitch, right? And then like kind of things is that we've been taught. So we think that not saying anything and then bottling things up to yourself, then like whenever you want to talk about it, sometimes you rush out, or sometimes you do that on your time or whatever. I think that's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
Because other significant other side of things is that they don't know. Because I don't talk and then the guy doesn't talk about it, so they assume everything
The
is
worst.
good. Everything's good or worse or whatever, right?
If they know you're off.
But like yeah, like if I'm mad or something, like they'll start thinking about something else because you're not talking about stuff.
Yeah.
And then also like if you're bottling things up, you start thinking about adding stuff to everything, and then you just start thinking about other significant other to the bad light, and it's just a worse cycle, and like a downward spiral. So what I've been doing recently, or what I've been trying to do that in relationship, friendship, even working space or working place, what I do is like whenever I don't like it, I just tell them, say, hey, I don't like it. This
Yeah.
one is I just can't. This is how I felt. This is how you made me feel. But also, this is what I don't like.
Yeah.
And then, was that intention of you doing that to me? Then like you have that conversation, and people sometimes say, oh, my bad, I didn't mean to.
Yeah.
Or like I was totally misunderstanding of the situation. Or they say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna do that anymore. Or like we just talk about it, right?
Right.
And then it doesn't have to be 3 hour shitty dark conversation. It could be just like 10 minutes of say, hey, this is the issue. Let's work things out. I think that's something that, you know, hopefully the people who are listening to the guys, I think even ladies, you know, girls too, it's just kind of same things happen sometimes. It's like when people try to save other people by not saying something, I think it hurts more people.
Yeah, I think you're doing them a disservice.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's kind of, you know, but, you know, 6 months ago, like a year ago, I'll probably say different way.
I feel that.
So honestly, like I think people, like my belief is the core of people doesn't really change. But I think there's a lot of people in the world who are good people.
Me too.
But they just like bad at it.
They just don't know it.
They just don't know, and they just don't do stuff, you know? Like I believe there's a cycle, there's a 4 steps of like a cycle of understanding a thing. It's called, there's a, 4-step ladder, that's what I call.
Okay.
It's called, one is unconsciously incompetent, meaning you don't know what you don't know. Then if you're talking to those people, there's pointless because they don't know what they don't know, right? But second step is consciously incompetent, meaning they know what they don't know. So there's a hope,
Yes.
right? And then third step is consciously competent. They know what they know. And then last step is kind of genius stage of unconsciously competent. They don't even know what they know. They know a lot of things, right?
Right.
So I think but it's kind of sometimes it's like a steps, because if you think you know everything, it becomes like, oh shit, you don't know anything.
You don't know nothing.
Yeah. So you just go through the cycle, but it's like I like to see this as a graph, as a steps, because it's like not going back where you are. Some people are, then some people never learn.
I think once you have a certain knowledge
Yeah.
of yourself and the world, it's really hard to try to go back and be the person you were
Yeah.
before.
Yeah. So then
And to make the stupid decisions that you made that aren't furthering your existence or anything else's.
So like you know, like you say you got married, divorced twice, right?
Yeah.
Then like what would you not do this time if you ever get married again?
I wouldn't jump into it for sure.
What do you mean? You just jumped into it?
I mean, I knew the guy for a couple years, and we got married, and we were married for 3 years the first time. The other guy, he and I dated on and off for probably 6 years. And then we got married, but we got married for less than a year. I didn't know myself well enough to say, oh, I want to be with this person forever, because I didn't even understand who I was. And at this point, I have a better understanding of my pace and how slow I need to go in a relationship. And if you can find, a potential partner that also helps you with that, I think men basically just need to say no more to women. They need to be, like in their masculinity, they don't need to just say yes to everyone and cave to everything. Like, they need to know what they want. They need to know kind of where they're going, who they are, their values. And I think looking for someone like that, and someone that's very consistent with taking care of themselves, consistent with, showing up for others. I think those kind of things are really important. In the past, I've gotten with people who didn't have many close friendships or relationships, which should have told me that they're maybe not able to cultivate those.
Yeah.
And maybe not a good partner.
Makes sense. So it's interesting. I've never been married.
Yeah.
So what changed? Like, honestly,
What changes?
like, honestly, like, for me, like, I've lived with a girl and stuff,
Yeah.
like, I had like longer relationship, and then we're living together, and I was thinking like marriage won't be different, but
Yeah.
also like, I didn't marry to them,
No,
for,
you're good.
but I was curious, like, you saying like, well, you're dating this guy for like off and on for so many years, and then like, what changes when you marry?
I think if you are a healthy adult and know yourself well enough, have went through your family trauma to figure out, oh, this made me this way, and these are things I need to work on. And if you, what was the question?
Oh no, my question was like, when you get married, after you get married,
Oh, what changes?
what changes? Is that like is that happen to you? Like, 6 years that you got married, right? The day after wedding or paper sign?
Not the first one. He and I were really close friends before. So my first husband,
Okay.
he and I were very intellectually matched up. We had fun. We didn't have any like big fallout problems. My second marriage, he was pretty volatile emotionally, just really needed love and needed. So those are two different things. But I honestly think that if two people go into a marriage understanding what it means to both of them, and they're both at a place in their life where they can communicate, they know each other inside out, they know all the ugly, the possible, they know some past things, they know future. I don't think things change just because you got married.
So you guys just kind of got divorced because not marriage, because just
It was just personal reasons, but yeah.
Yeah.
My first one. My second one, it was too much.
Just like the guy was too controlling or whatever.
He wasn't controlling. He was very loving and smothering. Go back to that parental smothering, So people will trigger the heck out of you until you understand why, until you look at how you grew up, until you understand how you internalize, someone talking to you about something that they don't like that you did. Like that can be very hurtful for someone, but you need to look back at how you grew up and how you've kind of manifested your parental relationship into your relationships whenever you didn't know better.
Got you. So like the guy was loving.
Yeah.
So that's
but
why
he
you
would want
didn't
to
like
talk
it?
on the phone for 4 or 5 hours a day while he was at work. He needed me. Needed me. I don't want to be needed.
Oh, 4 or 5 hours? Wow, what do you guys talk about?
He worked in the oil field. So
Like every day?
He would talk about oil field stuff, whatever he was doing. He was just bored.
Like every day? That's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to me. Can you you're now single,
Yeah.
but you do have a wedding ring on.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because it's a placeholder. No, I'm just kidding. I had gotten in a relationship with someone, and he was a friend of mine for 15 years, and he was like, I'm going to buy you some jewelry. So we went, and he had bought the band, and I bought the diamond. And then now I look at it as this is my ring that I picked out that I love the most. It is for me. I don't need anything to complete me. You know, there's the whole Disney, like you're going to meet your prince and you're going to do this and la la. I've been in La La Land for years. So it was almost like ode to La La Land. Like this is my last like symbol of that is that's done. Moving forward. But it's funny, it's a heart stone. Mm-hmm. So I turn it out whenever I am giving love.
Yeah.
And whenever I am like I need my time, you know, I need to like collect myself, I'll actually flip it around. So I use it as kind of like, okay, I'm, you know, like whenever I go to a wedding and I'm doing a wedding job and doing bridal makeup, that's for them. Yeah. This is your day. This is also, I've used it as a tool to kind of flip around and be like, okay, I'm giving love to others now. And okay, I need to love myself now. I need to say no to some things.
That makes sense. So like when did you get that ring?
Maybe January.
This year?
Yeah.
So like did you go out on a date after you bought a ring?
I went with my girlfriend and we picked it up.
No, like I mean like after since January, like did you ever went on a date?
Yeah.
Were you wearing the ring?
Yeah.
Did that guy ask you?
I mean, no. I don't think so.
They don't ask you?
He didn't care. Huh. Remember the guy that didn't care, that didn't want to talk about anything?
Oh, maybe put it in the fridge. Yeah.
But no, I've had wedding rings before that I would wear. It's just, I think it's funny. I think wedding rings are funny in general.
Yeah.
I mean, if I you know, found the right guy to get married, I would want a gold band, and that's like I just want a gold band.
Gold band. Yeah. I mean, honestly, like a wedding ring, it's kind of like a marketing scheme and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
thankful for my job. But
yeah. So like, how long have you been doing the makeup?
I started in 2005.
Yeah.
And started with Tony.
Yeah.
Tony Marlowe. She was manager there at the Mac counter.
Yeah.
So that's how her and I met. But and then we did weddings and have worked on films.
Yeah. So you don't do that like a full time anymore, or?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then like a mental health thing is like a side job.
It's my side job.
Yeah. Do you like the side job better?
No.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't pay anything. But no, I've enjoyed being able to connect with people over the mental health thing, just because I have friends that are going through things that, you know, not many people know about, and they're sharing things with me and they follow me. And I have a lot of guys that follow, and friends that guys like people in film that follow my posts, and it's really cool to be able to put something out that someone else sees as valuable, even if it's just me with my little Instagram account.
Well, what is the most like the things you like are proud of, or like memorable things you posted and then like had a feedback?
Oh, I don't know. I will say one person that I enjoy, or the type of person I enjoy posting for, is like younger women. I have a girl that I used to babysit, and she's now in college out at California. But she follows me, and I post a lot of mental health stuff, and I'm really close with her mom, and I kind of know that she needs a little help. And she follows, and she posts, and she responds back, and she feels like my godchild. So that's probably one of my favorites, is just being able to connect. And I send stuff back and forth to private accounts all the time.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm not. I feel like I can finally slow down a little bit on it now that I feel like I've figured the big ball of wax out as far as myself, and I'm like, okay, I feel centered. I can see the past. I can see all the stupid stuff that I did. Not all the stupid stuff, but and just see a better way to move forward.
I mean, I understand who you are, right? But it's kind of hard to understand, because I think that like some people ask me like, who are you, kind of deal, right? And
Mhm.
I'm like, well, I was talking about, I own the business, I do this and I do that. Like that's what you do. That's not who you are.
Yeah.
Like how do you explain who you are?
Ooh, that's hard. I know it's like I'm a mom of 3 and I am a person who tends to love too much. No. I always want to give back. I want people to feel safe with me. Has always been something that's been very important to me. So I'm a very safe, loving, caring, objective person.
That's awesome.
Also a farm kid. I'm a farm kid at heart.
Yeah.
I'm a country kid.
Yeah. I mean, like the end of this podcast segment, always I do ask 2 questions. But so 2018, which is 5 years ago, what were you doing in 2018?
I was having a baby. No, I had my third kid.
Third kid?
Evan.
Nice. Well, if you could tell yourself on that day, or like 5 years ago, if you can tell yourself advice, what would that be?
I don't think I would tell myself anything.
Interesting. Why not?
Because I don't want to mess with what happened between then and now.
That is first, because I do this podcast about, I don't know, 50 people, 48 people. You're the first one to say that to me. But it's interesting. But
I'm like, I don't want to tamper butterfly effect. Like, I'm like, no.
But
I wouldn't have listened anyway.
Yeah. What do you think that person needed to hear?
Probably drop the ego and drop the rebellion.
Why is that?
Because it's caused a lot of problems in my life.
You probably
The rebellious nature. Even looking back at going over my parents and my relationship, I've been so rebellious. I mean, since I was 2, I've just been so rebellious against it. And just to be like, you did the best you could, Mom and Dad. You guys had a way harder childhood than I did. And as a mom now, it is not easy, and you don't know. I don't know what they're going to be mad at me about.
Yeah.
I'm going to do my best, but I have to understand that they were trying to do their best too, and that's not a reflection on me.
Yeah. That totally makes sense. I mean, people do the best. That's all you can ask for. I mean,
Yeah.
what would you? How do you see yourself in 5 years?
I see myself building a nonprofit retreat in 5 years.
What's that?
Like a mental health nonprofit retreat. I live on quite a bit of land, and it's funny. My dad has always had this dream as well, but basically to have a place where people could come out in nature and camp, gaze at the stars, have dirt bikes, trails, horses.
Are you already doing that?
No.
The nonprofit? But you guys gonna start it?
That's what I'm going into.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, are you guys like filing 501c and stuff?
Will do. Yeah.
Man, those are kind of hard. Okay, if you need a help, let me know.
Okay.
I've done it before. That
All right.
it takes a month to file that paperwork.
It's gonna take a lot of work to get the place looking like we want it. So.
Oh yeah, I bet. But I think that'd be cool though, cause like I think nature, exercises, those kind of things are like good for mental health.
Yeah.
I think it's funny because if you have a good mental health, you probably work out. But if you work out, you probably have a good mental health.
Right.
If you don't work out, it's just kind of like
Working out is really, really centric to a lot of things.
Yeah.
I think moving your body and feeling good about yourself.
Yeah, it's discipline, and also like I think it's just needed for the human. It's a necessity, But what so like you've been doing this mental health and all that kind of stuff, and then what would you say to what was it like a best takeaway from it, like what you learned, but also like if you're talking to that maybe like that babysitter girl, whatever, like whoever is listening to this episode, what would be the best advice you can give?
I would say focus on getting yourself right first. And then take your time. You don't really know anybody, for the first year, really. I would say basically work on your friendship, work on other parts of your relationship besides just jumping in the sack at the very beginning. And because I think women's brains go in a completely different universe whenever you're like, oh, we now have a physical relationship. And it's like logic kind of goes out the window. And then you haven't really built the loyalty with each other and the trust with each other to have a good functional relationship. So I think taking the time, learning about yourself, learning about them, their family, what their attachment style is. If it's meant to be, you don't have to rush it. There's not any hurry.
Well said. I think it is what it is, Yeah. I think that that's the most important things, and then honestly, like a lot of people say, like get married by a certain age or whatever.
Yeah.
People get divorced, right? And then like, I think, true happiness, and then I think if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, and then nobody can control destiny. And then also like, I read a book called Midnight Library.
Mm-hmm.
Have you read that book? It's a novel. It's a fiction. I never read novel or fiction. I always like listen to mental health book or self-development book, and like I listen to Audible.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, man, I kind of want to like start reading a book, because like I want to get better at speaking English and vocabulary and so on. So like I was listening to YouTube. I was watching YouTube say, if you're reading a book, the best thing you can do is read something you enjoy. Like you will want it to finish.
Right.
So I was like, well, self-development books, sometimes like, well, whenever I read like the first 2 chapters, I'm like kind of get bored, but I just listen to it like a steppers or whatever. So I started reading that book, but that book is about, the girl who commits suicide and then goes to a midnight library, say there's a book of regrets. So you can kind of relive the life that she could be a rock star, she could be a teacher, she could be an Olympic athlete or whatever, right? And then she relive all that stuff. I'm not gonna spoil a lot of the whole like a book, but I thought it was interesting that those book of the people who live, but like different kind of life, but also people who are having a relationship, different kind of relationship, maybe getting divorced, you're getting breakups and heartbreaks and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But sometimes only you can do is like you live, move forward,
Very true.
So that book kind of gave me like, oh man, what if like I was like a professional baseball player? Like what kind of life I'm living in? Just like dreaming is fun, right? Talk about this stuff and all that kind of stuff. That's why I love doing this kind of podcast too, like learning about other people's life. And then, most people I can relate, and they also like a lot of people have a different ideas and then different perspective, but also like, I don't know, it's kind of interesting that a lot of people are going through a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and it makes you feel like you're not so alone.
Yeah.
Whenever you're like, because you said it, you're like, you don't look any different than you did 5 years ago, but like you feel different, and you want to talk about those things.
Yeah.
And you want to understand more about yourself by talking to other people.
Yeah, because like people, people who get like obese or like like go overweight or like they maybe don't lose an arm or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Physically ill people, we can't tell. But like there's no people walking around say, hey, I'm depressed. I have anxiety. Like there's nothing like that, right? People like smiling. People maybe look sad, but like they look same. So I think it's important like that, like that's what I do want to do this podcast through podcast and the YouTube content. And also I probably you're doing the same thing on your social media stuff, that it's normal you're going through stuff.
Yeah.
And then nobody have figured it out.
Yeah.
Nobody know who you are really. And then, but no, everybody's changing, evolving, and then living in life, and then getting inspired rather than people to downsizing people who are trying. I think that's the most important message I would like to give out, and I think you're doing too. So, like, how other people can find you?
I have a website for my makeup. It's krystalroseartistry.com.
Mental health.
Mental health. I think it's I changed the name recently.
Well, you send it to me, and I'll put it on the description.
Yeah, just put it on the bottom.
Yeah, later. And is there anything else that you want to talk about we didn't cover?
I think that was it. No, this is great. I'm really glad you had me on.
Awesome. Yeah,
This was
thanks
really
for
fun.
coming. This was fun, and then learn a lot, and then hopefully we work together more.
Yes.
Thank you guys coming back to watch this episode, and if you guys are watching YouTube, please like a comment. That will actually boost the algorithm to spread this word and spread this story to other people. So I think it's a win-win situation. I appreciate you guys, and if you're listening to Spotify or iTunes or something like that, give me a 5-star review and then download it, and then that will help me as well, and then help other people too. But thank you guys for watching, and then don't be a house stepper, and then always be frank. See you guys next Friday. Peace.